Welcome to AJV Career Talks, a webinar series that has been specially curated to provide valuable and useful information about studying in New Zealand with a view to fulfill career aspirations. Today, the topic of discussion is how studying business in New Zealand can propel your career, which we bring to you in collaboration with Auckland University of Technology. I am Tanuva Majumdar, Country Head of AJV Global based in India, and I welcome our esteemed guest panelist for today from Auckland University of Technology, Farnaz Mohammed, who is the Director of International Marketing and Recruitment. Also joining us from AJV Global are Arun Jacob, Founder and CEO of AJV Global, and also a Licensed Immigration Advisor, and Mary Joseph, a Senior Licensed Immigration Advisor. Auckland University of Technology, popularly known as AUT, is located in the most populous city of New Zealand, Auckland. It is amongst the top 1% of universities worldwide and the second largest university in New Zealand, with 100,000 alumni around the world. It is also #1 in New Zealand for global research impact and international outlook. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to Farnaz, who will give a brief introduction about herself and also talk about business at AUT. Farnaz.
Kia ora, my name is Farnaz Mohammed. I'm the Director of International Marketing and Recruitment for the Faculty of Business, Economics and Law at Auckland University of Technology. I am going to share a presentation with you, so let's hope this all works. That's an introduction of myself, which we've just gone through. So AUT University is a very modern, very young university here in New Zealand. If you need a quick catch up in the amount of the numbers of universities that are here in New Zealand, there are 8 universities, and AUT became a university on the 1st of January the year 2000. So it is the university for the younger generation of students. It is the #1 millennial university in Australasia, and it's ranked as 14 in the world. We're very proud that as a very young university of 20 years, we feature in the top 1% of universities worldwide. And just very recently, as of last week actually, AUT is ranked the 3rd in New Zealand for research. And we are also holding a very strong flag as being the #1 university with international outlook. That measures our profile of international students that are studying at AUT, and also the impact that our researchers are having internationally with their international counterparts. We've got 5 out of 5 stars in the QS employability rankings, ensuring that our graduates are great graduates and job ready for the market. So I think for any university to have that 5-star rating speaks volumes in terms of the caliber of the programs and the quality of the students that we have here coming to AUT to study, and also profiles the importance of students being able to fulfill their aspirations and their dreams. So, you know, you could come in as a weaker student in your view, but you leave as a successful graduate. So we are top ranked in global research impact, as well as our academic teaching. And we're quite proud of these rankings because, as I mentioned before, it's a young university, has been standing on the global market for 20 years as a university. We've been around for a large number of years as an institution, as a institute of technology. So we're very proud of our rankings and ratings. Where are we? As Tanuva mentioned, in the city of Auckland in New Zealand, the largest cosmopolitan city. AUT has a campus on the North Shore. It's known as the North Campus, and that's across the Harbour Bridge here in Auckland. We've got a city campus. I'm based in the city campus. That's Auckland City. And our third campus is in the south bit part of Auckland, which is known as Manukau. All right. So, as the introductions were made, I am from a specific faculty. It's the Faculty of Business, Economics and Law, but I'm here today to speak to you about one of the schools in the Faculty of Business, Economics and Law, and that's the School of Business. The School of Business is probably the most popular school here at AUT in terms of international students wanting to pursue a qualification. My focus is on the programs that we offer for students here in the city campus. So the AUT Faculty of Business Economics Law, the School of Business, is located in this beautiful city. That's a real picture of Auckland, 365 days a year, and it's not photoshopped. And it's beautiful. And so here we are. I don't know if you can see on the screen the word AUT on one of the buildings. That's where the campus starts from. All right, so I'm speaking from one of those tall buildings. So the AUT School of Business is an accredited business school. We are accredited by AACSB, and I think if you are future business students, if you're looking at pursuing your qualification with undergraduate or postgraduate in business, that you should look for a school that has got this AACSB accreditation. It's given to only the top 5% of business schools in the world. It's quite robust. It's difficult to get, but once you become accredited, you've got to maintain standards and build on it for your accreditation to carry on. So the accreditation is for 5 years, and as a young business school, a business school that's been around for 12 years, since the university has been around for 20 years, to have this accreditation twice speaks volume about the quality of our programs and the quality of our academics. We are also proud to have these QS rankings for all subject areas or all disciplines, if you like to call them, in the business school for all the programs that we teach. So business management includes all our programs such as global business, human resource management, management on its own, business information systems. We've got rankings for economics as well as accounting and finance. Now, you may look at the screen and think, well, you top 150, top 300, top 250 doesn't sound high enough, but it is. I mean, it's a business school that's only been developed to stand on its own and within a university that's only 20 years old, and we've been in place for 12 years. So this speaks volume because we're in the same category rankings of universities that have been around for hundreds of years. So it's a good place to start, and we can only improve on this and get better, and I think we will. So if you do come to do a program with us, you're doing a program that has got international recognition and international acceptance in terms of the quality of the program that you come out with as a great graduate. The focus of my presentation to you today is on our coursework, taught, professional masters, whichever name you'd like to give it. We have people that identify closely with coursework masters. They don't like research. They like to know it as taught masters. All programs are taught, but nevertheless taught means there's no research involved, so they like to call it taught. We call it professional masters as well because it is career-changing programs for students, all right? So the focus of the presentation is on the postgraduate. I will touch on some of the other programs we've got in the business school if there's people in the audience that are undergraduate students as well, or research-based students. So we at the moment have got 5 professional master's programs. These are called the Master of Applied Finance, Master of Business Management, Master of Global Business, Master of Accounting, Professional Accounting, and Master of Marketing. I'm going to go through each one of this in the next few slides, just a quick overview on the programs. What I wanted to point out to you here are some key points for these programs. The start dates are there, the durations are there, we'll go through that in a minute as well. But the key point is, and something that I hear constantly when I'm talking to prospects or applicants or consultants who are talking to students, they always are asking me about work experience. How many years do I need? I'm a fresh graduate. These degrees require no work experience, 0. If you've got 1 year or you've got 6 months, great. Just tells us you're a bit more mature than the students we normally get, but it doesn't mean you've got to have work experience, all right? So no work experience. You need to be a graduate, so that means not a graduate from year 12, but you've got to have a bachelor's degree. You've got to have a bachelor's degree in any discipline. And it's got to be in the first class pass or first division, as you call them in India, from a recognized Indian university. You've got to have a degree in Bachelor of Engineering or a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Music, whatever you may have, as long as it's a first class pass. Now, when it comes to first class pass, we don't put a percentage on that because, as we know very well, and you know better than I do, that many Indian universities, first class or first division, starts at different percentages. So as long as it's mentioned on your degree certificate that you've got a first class pass, we don't look at whether you've got 65% or 70% or 75%. All right? So that's important for you to know. The other interesting bit which our prospects don't know about, or our students don't know, is that all the textbooks and reading materials are given to you as part of the program. You're not required to buy any. This is included in your tuition fees. So you get the textbooks, you get the reading materials given to you when you arrive on campus to start the program. Slightly different now with the online, but I'll mention that later. All right, so these programs are designed to bring the greatness out of you so that you can achieve success. Now, success you can measure on all sorts. Some people think success means getting a GPA of A. For some people, success means completing a qualification in time. Success means completing a qualification and finding a job. So it's whichever connotation you put towards what success means to you, you will get this from these programs. All right. I see a lot of students, and if I'm speaking predominantly to the Indian market, then we've got students who do 4-year fabulous bachelors of engineering degrees in India, but work in sales and do fabulously in sales. Maybe that's your inner calling. You needed to do something in sales, so therefore they would be looking at doing a qualification in marketing, because that's what they enjoy doing. That's their success. That's their potential of greatness. So each of these programs is designed to start students off from a common foundation base. All right, because you might think, well, I've done engineering, if I come to do applied finance, how will I, no, you don't need to panic about that, because the core papers for all students, you all start on the same base. So that's why these are intensive programs. That's why we require first class pass, because we want you to be successful. We want you to be successful in a comprehensive time. All right? So just to go through these programs quickly, the Master of Applied Finance, what I wanted to show and reiterate in these slides is the fact no work experience required. You need to be a graduate in any discipline, all right? It's designed to give you a career in financial services. It doesn't mean just the banking sector. Any place that's got a finance division. All right. It's a program that is professionally accepted and recognized by CFA Institute. For the students who are listening, who understand what CFA is, you'd know that it doesn't belong to New Zealand, Australia. It's an American endorsement. They don't give you exemptions like the accounting bodies do. What we're saying here, and what they're saying to us, is that 70% of the course content for the first exams are already taught by us in this program. So when you go out and you graduate and you start working and you sit your level 1 CFA exams, you should pass it, because we've already taught you that. All right, so it's acceptance and recognition of the Masters of Applied Finance, the Bachelor of Business in Finance, for somebody who wants to undertake the CFA examinations. As you can see in the table on the slide, these are the courses you have to take. Students usually say, which papers can I choose to make up my applied finance? You can't choose papers. These are set degrees. Those are the papers that you have to do and progress through. The final paper that you do, which is called an applied finance project, is a project that's industry-based. All right, so you're getting some industry experience when you're doing this. Master of Business Management, very proud of this program because it's one that I have brought into AUT to develop and offer. It's the first Master of Business Management professional to be taught in Auckland at a university. And this came out early last year. So we had our first batch of graduates finish in December last year. So it's been quite a good program, very popular at the moment with students all wanting to do the Master of Business Management because they're trying to get into early management. Again, no work experience is required, a degree in any discipline, all right? And it's designed to give somebody a career in management. So as students, you'll automatically say that, oh, that means I'm going to be a manager when I graduate. No, it's not going to be that. Yeah, I think you've got to be quite realistic as well in understanding that if you're coming in to do a qualification and you're a fresh graduate or you've only had a 1-year experience, you can't expect to complete a qualification and walk in and or to be able to do interviews or give interviews for a management role. All right, you've got to start somewhere. People start as team leaders. I have a lot of students from India that were engineers that were running call centers or engineering BPOs and managing teams, and they didn't have the academic qualification to go with it. So this is what they're doing because they want to be able to go back and lead teams. So it gives you a quick overview of how management works in a business, all right? Those are the papers that you have to take. This is the only master program that we have where you can choose 2 out of 3 papers from the list, as you can see there. So you could sort of tailor your business management degree to either SMEs in the global economy and operations and supply chain, or you can do digital business and operations and supply chain, all right? And it also has an applied business project, which is industry-based. Master of Global Business, no work experience, degree in any discipline. It's designed to give someone a career in a wide range of industry. It's also known as international business. We don't use the term international business because we've got international business in the research masters. We had to differentiate it. This is my area of specialization. I'm a graduate of international business. So I'm not really that biased, but it is one of the great programs to be in. The papers, if you were a prospective student and you've been engaging with AJV for, say, over a year, you would notice that the paper titles have changed. We have refreshed the degree. We have renamed some of the papers to make it a bit more understandable to the audience, because it is looking at global context, it's looking at operations, supply chain, it's looking at entrepreneurship and innovation, it's looking at strategy. So we've just revised the papers, the contents, to make it a lot more usable for students who are graduating and looking at going offshore. All right. It also has an applied global business project, which is industry-based. That's the last paper that students have to do in all the professional masters, is the applied project, and that's worth a lot of points in order for a student to graduate. Master of Marketing, no work experience, a degree in any discipline. It blends our marketing, advertising, retailing, and sales into this degree, because marketing, advertising, and retailing sales we offer at an undergraduate level in our degree as standalone majors for students. So when it comes to the comprehensive Master of Marketing, we've combined all 4 areas together, so you as a graduate are able to tap into roles that are into any of these 4 areas, all right? Because what the businesses have told us, because this was reviewed as well, is that businesses, over the last 5 years have been cutting down on individual roles. They're not looking just for a marketing manager. They're looking for a marketing manager who can do some advertising, some retailing, some sales. So they're trying to cut down and combine roles, because you've got to be able to transfer your skills and knowledge. So that's the approach we've taken for the Master of Marketing, is we've combined it so that when you do graduate, you can walk and apply for responsibility, in jobs or roles that are able to give you exposure to any of these 4 areas. And it's designed, as I said, a career in marketing, which could be all sorts. All right, those are the courses that you've got to take, and you've got to take it in that particular order, as we've mentioned in the other programs. And there's also an applied marketing project that's required to be completed. Professional accounting, I think this is something that's been around now. We've been offering professional accounting for over 6 years. It's something that's common now across New Zealand institutions. It speaks for itself. It's a professional accounting qualification. It doesn't require anyone to have work experience. You could be a graduate from any discipline, designed to give, as the name suggests, a career in accounting. It is accredited and a recognized program by these 4 common bodies that you all are familiar with. If it's the New Zealand CA, then of course all the papers exempted, because it's our own program, it's onshore, and there's certain requirements that have got to be met by these accrediting bodies in order to become a full member. So we give these platforms, or we give these programs and papers for students to learn and to achieve and pass. And once they graduate, it's your responsibility to apply for these accrediting bodies. It's something that, because you may choose to do CIMA or do ACCA, you might not want to do CA, Australia, New Zealand, in terms of becoming accredited. So it's your choice where you go. I have sometimes students say to me, I want to do CIMA, so in professional accounting, which papers do I have to do? This is the degree isn't designed for one of the specific areas. It's designed for all 4. All right, but it's your role in terms of which one you choose to be accredited to once you have graduated with the Master of Professional Accounting. It's a slightly longer program, professional accounting, as you would have seen in the previous slide I showed you. It's 16 months as compared to the other professional masters, which are 12 months. And that's because there are extra paper requirements that are needed by these different bodies. All right. And so the students also do a professional accounting practice, which is a project industry-based at the end of the qualification. So the eligibility criteria for these taught masters, all right, for the audience, if you're mostly from India, then it's, as I mentioned, a first-class pass Any discipline, internationally recognized university, we ascertain if the university is recognized or not. To you, I think all of your universities are recognized, but it doesn't usually work that way if there are some private universities that are not part of the University Grants Commission. And I wanted to show you what the English language requirements are for any of these master's program. And also because of the current situation with the pandemic, we're also accepting the IELTS indicator and the TOEFL IBT home edition. And that's only temporary until the pandemic is over and the markets will open up again, and we're able to have students do the normal exams. I do understand from some of the students that I was talking to yesterday that the IELTS testing centers in India and some cities have opened up, and some students are signed up to do the test this week, so best of luck. And if you are, then we require you to have a 6.5 with no band less than 6. All right. Now, also for these masters that I mentioned, we also have postgraduate programs, diplomas for entry into these programs. They can be used as entry or exit pathways. Okay, so the postgraduate diploma in applied finance or business management or global business or marketing or professional accounting, these are 8 months full-time. All right, they're not 1 year. Now, you may be looking at our university website. You could see that it says duration 12 months. You know, just be aware that the website is written for all students, all domestic, international, part-time, working people, for all students, all right? So it doesn't differentiate if you're an international student full-time on a student visa that you'll be studying 8 months. All right, so these are 8 months. It starts in March and October, the same intakes as the master's program. The only difference is the entry requirement. So listen carefully. So if you want to do a postgraduate diploma, one of these 5 that I've mentioned, you need to have an undergraduate degree, 2nd class or 3rd class pass, not a problem. All right. So the difference is the masters, you needed to have 1st class, 1st division. For these postgraduate diplomas, you don't have to. You just need to graduate, have a degree in 2nd class or pass class. All right, any discipline. The English language requirements are exactly the same. That hasn't changed. All right, so for example, if you were coming in to do a postgraduate diploma in applied finance because you didn't have the 1st class pass in your degree, but your heart is set to do the Masters of Applied Finance, you will come in and do the postgraduate diploma in applied finance, 8 months, pass your papers in 8 months. You've got to get a GPA of B, and that's usually about 70 to 75% in our GPA scale. You get that, you'll then be able to staircase, transfer into the Master of Applied Finance, and you're studying 4 months. So total 8 plus 4 is 12 months. So you're still studying within the same duration a student in Master of Applied Finance will be studying, which is 12 months. All right. So the papers that you do in the postgraduate diploma, we call them courses now. So the courses that you do in the PG diploma are the same courses that a student does in the master's in a different stream. So it's transferable. So the credits are transferable. All right. So I'll say that again. 8 months, postgraduate diploma, applied finance, completed, get the B grade that we need, the GPA, and you automatically move into the Masters of Applied Finance if you want to do, and you will study 4 months, you will graduate with a Master of Applied Finance. It's very important that if you want to do finance and accounting because you want to apply for those accreditations, then it's the master's program that's recognized, not the PG diploma. All right, so if you want to do or get CFA accreditation for finance, you've got to complete the master's. Same with the accounting qualification. It's a master's that gives you a lot more credits than the PG diploma does. All right, the other scenario is you may have come in to do the Master of Business Management. All right, you got an offer for the Master of Business Management, you got your 1st class pass, you came into the Master of Business Management, and you started to struggle in your 1st trimester. So if you're unable to maintain a GPA of B within your 1st trimester, which is the first 10 weeks, and moving into the 2nd trimester, we will have a discussion with you. So if you're unable to maintain a GPA of B, you would need to drop down to the PG diploma. And that's why we say we use it as an entry qualification or an exit qualification. And it's your choice. You may have started in the master's, you're finding it a bit difficult, you're finding it difficult to maintain a B average, you can automatically request for a downgrade into the PG diploma. And that's something that's very important. It's something we can touch on later, but I'm sure your AGV consultants will explain this to you because it has a lot of repercussions as well in terms of the student visa that was issued to you. So that's something that you've got to be careful about. And that's why we have the requirement of the GPA for the masters, because you've got to be successful in this. All right. The other scenarios are you might not be able to afford the master's qualification, regardless of having a first-class pass, and the PG diploma is the better option for you. That's your choice. All right. You can do that as well. Very soon, I've got a sixth master that I'll be adding into the program, and that's the Master of Supply Chain Management. Very proud of it. It's been long in the making for us here in the business school. We're very proud to get its approval by the New Zealand government. We're taking our first intake in October next year. It'll be exactly the same requirements as all these other masters that I've mentioned. No work experience, you can be a graduate in any discipline, and this program will also have a option of someone doing the postgraduate diploma in supply chain management. All right, those are the courses that you'll have to take, as well as a project at the end, which is the Applied Supply Chain Management project. All right, so the applications for this particular program will open soon. It's advertised on the website, but we're not taking applications yet. We'll be taking applications closer to the end of the year for the first intake in October 2021. Now, also, it's a big secret, so I'm hoping this doesn't go beyond our webinar. We're also, with this particular program, which is why we're holding on for a minute, is we're also applying for SIPS accreditation for the particular program. So we're hoping to get that as well by the end of the year, so we can have a complete package for students when they're undertaking this particular program, because I think it's important for many students. All right. All right, so for anyone who's in the audience listening, we still have the traditional research master on offer. This is for somebody who wants to embark on doing a PhD later in life. Then you can still do a research master's. The only difference is with the entry requirement for this research master's compared to the other 5 I just mentioned, you've got to have a bachelor's degree in the business discipline that you'd like to do your research in. All right, so those are the disciplines that we've got on offer: accounting, business information systems, economics, finance, international business, management, marketing, sport leadership, and management. All right, so the Masters of Business, this is known as Master of Business Research. It's quite interesting. We've got 2 different routes. So you can do 6 months of coursework, 1 year theses. All right, or you can do a year of coursework and 6 months dissertation. So it just depends on your level of intensity of research that you want to undertake. All right, and this pathways students into the PhD should they wish to undertake that. All right, the English requirement is the same as the professional masters that I mentioned. The GPA requirement is a first-class pass, but in a business discipline, and it's a 1.5 year length program. Intakes are traditional. It's a traditional semester, so it's February and July, not March and October. All right. Also, we've got the famous MBA, which many students aspire to do if they've got thorough work experience. So our MBA, we traditionally look at 5-year minimum sort of senior level work experience, and we like to see that reflected in someone's CV. So it's about somebody's journey through employability, through employment. So it's about working your way up from where you started from to where you sort of ended up when you were applying for the MBA. And we've also got a postgraduate diploma that's for somebody who doesn't quite meet the 5-year work experience. We've got several intakes for the MBA. We're going to be changing this for next year. So the intake dates will be put on the website, and the duration is 12 months to 1.5 years, depending on the situation for the particular student who's trying to do the program and work if they are working in New Zealand. All right, and we've also got our PhD as well. All right, just in case there's some young students listening in, we can't forget that we've got something for you as well, and that's the Bachelors of Business, and it's a 3-year program, commences February and July, so a traditional semester. Those are the majors that we have on offer. Now, the interesting thing with our Bachelors of Business is that it's a undergraduate program that you can design according to what you want to do. So it's not a set, dictated business degree anymore like it used to be 10 years ago. All right. So what this means is you can do 1 major from that list that I've just mentioned, and you can do 2 minors from outside the business school. So you can make the degree according to what you want to do. So you could do, say, you may choose to do management, and you may choose to do supply chain management, or you may choose to do analytics, data analytics from a different faculty, or you may choose to do hospitality and tourism. So it's about designing the degree to what you would like to do. As long as you're doing one of our majors from the business faculty, You can choose 2 minors from outside the business faculty. If you'd like to do 2 majors from the business faculty, which is the list there, 8 of them, then you don't have a capacity to choose a minor. All right, so 2 majors, no minor, 1 major, 2 minors. And that's the exciting bit for this degree, is it's quite different. It's quite different to what business undergraduate business degrees are like in New Zealand. So this is about designing the degree according to what you want to do. All right, so you don't need to have mom and dad tell you what you need to major in. You can say that this is what I'd like to do because this is what the future is going to be like. All right, so it's your degree, you make it up as long as you're doing it within our regulations. All right, so these are some of the contacts for the business school, and we can organize to talk to you online through your consultant AJV. So we work together in setting up times if we need to give you a bit more counseling, should you require that while you're deciding in terms of the journey that you'd like to undertake with us. Now, Tuluva, I could go through some questions, or should we just open it up? Or?
Yep. Thanks, Farnaz. That was awesome. That was very, very informative. So we have a couple of questions already. We can start answering them. The first one is, can I apply to the Master of Finance, or can I apply for the Master of Finance and Master of Business Analytics programs concurrently?
You can apply, you can study both together.
So
so it depends on what the question is alluding to. If you're thinking that you can do a double major within a Masters of Applied Finance or Business Management, no, you can't. They're standalone degrees.
Right. The next one, I have several years of work experience. Am I still eligible for the Master of Business Analytics program?
Yes, I'm not sure where analytics has come from, but this is the Master of Business Management. You would be, yes. Yep. Now, you may have, and probably it's the best time to touch on this. So we do have students who we categorize as mature students. So you may have had an undergraduate qualification 20 years ago. You may have graduated from Punjab Technical University or Delhi University or Mumbai University. You may have secured a second-class pass. All right, you might not have made the first class, but your 10-year of work experience has been, say senior level management, or you've worked your way through for 10 years and you've landed yourself into an excellent position where you're basically doing the role of a manager. Then what I do is, applicants of that sort, we do ask you to put your CV in because it's been a while since you had done your academics. I look at your CV, and based on your work experience and what you're able to portray, then I'm able to have a discussion with our HOD to see if we could take the value of your work experience, and we like to do an interview to have a chat with you. We'd like to take the value of your work experience and calculate that to try and raise the GPA that you had got 10 years ago. So if you had a second class pass and you had the 10 years work experience, fabulous experience, and we can validate that, we would put a percentage on that work experience to say if we added that together, you would have got a first class pass. In that sense, we would consider you for entry into the master's program, so Master Business Management. Now, if students are looking at the Data Analytics program, at AUT it's called the Master of Analytics, and it's not in my faculty, it sits in the Faculty of Engineering and Maths, I think. So I think you need to have a degree in mathematics or science. I'm not quite sure about that. All right, but the supply chain management will have some data analytic papers in it, and you don't have to have a degree in that area.
Oh, great. So basically what you're saying is that whilst we require a first class in the qualification bit, but if they have work experience, that sort of can be like an exception.
Yeah. We consider them as mature students, and it's got to be, sort of a long work experience of 10 years solid. And we've had some students through here who were, they were holding bank manager positions in India for 15 years each at different banks, and I had met with them in an interview, and we were coming to do global business, and that was sufficient enough in the experience that they had to be able to calculate that towards the academic and say that 5%, it was only needed 5%, we were able to raise their GP and their basis. So it's a case by case, yes. And we've got the flexibility for that.
And if I may add something to what Fernand said, and I think she made a very valid point about how your prior experience can be taken into consideration when AUT is, sort of looking at your overall profile. And they say, okay, on paper, irrespective of which university, you may not have that first class we're looking for, but they're taking the work experience in conjunction with the entire, the individual. And then they're saying, hey, great, this is fantastic for us. Let's, give an admission to this student. Moving a step further, so basically you're not stalled at getting an admission into a fantastic university like AUT. And then of course you get your international world-class education, moving a few steps down the road from there. By virtue of the fact that you're coming into New Zealand and doing a course at the master's or at the postgraduate level, and this has got nothing to do with AUT, but this is a policy from the government of New Zealand, specifically the Immigration Department of New Zealand, is that if you pass this course at the master's or PG level, you automatically become eligible for a 3-year post-study work visa. And that by far is one of the biggest advantages of coming into New Zealand, studying at a world-class institution like AUT. And not only that, but there is a clear pathway provided by the government for you to be able to acquire international experience as well. And that is the entire rationale behind the 3 years post-study work visa. Plus, we also have another agenda, which is that we here in New Zealand, and we are all, proud New Zealanders here, and we also have a shortage of certain skills in our country here. So this also becomes a fantastic pathway for people to come study and then also get their post-study work visa and exercise the right to just get experience and then go back to their country, or potentially even look at longer-term aspirations in New Zealand, which is what, from my experience, a lot of students are looking at. So coming back to the question of this gentleman who asked, so I have a lot of experience. I think it'll play a very significant and key role at 2 areas, 2 stages rather. One, when AUT is assessing your eligibility to join that particular course, great, fantastic, because they can then overlook the fact that you don't have that first class on paper. And also after you complete your course, once you have your post-study work visa and you're getting yourself into the job market, and let's say you aspire to get that international experience before you go back to your home country or you want to pursue other future here in New Zealand, is that you're coming in with experience already. Now you have a degree from one of the most reputed universities here in New Zealand, and you have a legal working visa with you that's kind of given to you by the government. So it's an absolutely amazing combination for people. This is not to discourage those without an experience, but just talking about those who have an experience. I'm saying it could actually be doubly beneficial at the admission stage and post-completion stage as well.
Thanks, Arun and Pranath. I think that was quite useful. So the next one is, what are career options for Masters of Business in New Zealand?
Master of Business Research, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding in terms of the research masters. I think in the old days, this is about 10 years ago, when these taught masters did not exist in New Zealand, then the research masters were for people that were looking at moving into an academic career. So we're looking at doing a PhD and becoming an academic in an institution or a university. And students who were aspiring to do our programs in business had to end up doing PG diplomas only, because we didn't have taught masters then. These were only introduced at the end of 2014. So I think there's a perception out in the market that if you're doing the Masters of Business Research, then your only hope is to carry on with a PhD to be able to go to become an academic. And that's not true, because there are organizations and businesses here that do require students to have, or would like students to have, a degree in research in one of those areas of specialization, because it takes them deeper into the topic chosen that they're doing their research on, because it's there to help those businesses. So if you look at accounting, for example, then someone who's doing research in, say, fraudulent, forensic documentation, or looking at businesses and how they set up offshore to evade taxes, etc. What's the rationale behind that? So there are people that are doing in-depth research into that, because that will help businesses understand how people operate and how businesses operate. So we do still need people that have a passion of going behind the scenes or digging deeper in understanding the area of topic they've chosen, because they are actually wanting to rely on data and feedback to be able to inform businesses. So it's a different mindset. It's not, so if you're a student, a young graduate, your passion is to move into a profession that you weren't able to do in your undergraduate degree back at home, because everyone had to do engineering, or everyone had to do information technology because that's what the population were doing, or that's what your parents wanted you to do. But when you ended up you were working in something that excited you more, like sales or marketing. Therefore, you're wanting to equip the skills that you've gained with the knowledge, so that you're able to then move into industry that's given you a bit more depth. All right, so it's about your mindset. It's about what are you looking at achieving at the end of the day. Do you want to be a thorough researcher in a particular topic to become an expert, or you're looking at your professional career? That's probably the best way I can put it.
I think, yeah, it is a little different, but yes, as you correctly said, it's about changing mindset and just understanding what you really want to achieve out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our next question. Somebody was like, do you plan to have any specialized master's courses in leadership, digital marketing, or branding?
Right. Not branding per se, because we've got a communications department at AUT that focuses on visual and brand. We don't have a degree in digital marketing. You said a business. Digital marketing, right?
Marketing, yes.
Yeah, so it's actually within the Master of Marketing that I've shown you, the professional masters. So we won't use the terminology to say that it's a digital marketing paper. But if you go through our website into each of those papers that I've just shown you in the Master of Marketing, you will see that digital marketing, digital business is all part of the course content. All right, so it's not standalone, and it doesn't need to be standalone. I don't see that you could change the title of the degree and not have those papers, because it's all embedded. Digital is something that sits across the board. Whether you're doing a marketing degree, or whether you're doing a business management degree, or you're doing supply chain management, it's digital is part of the whole thing. All right? Yeah.
More so now.
Well, yes, that's right, yeah. And advertising, creativity, it's all part of the Master Marketing. But the Master Marketing degree that we are offering to you, where you're coming with no experience, and I've said we're blending in marketing, advertising, retailing, and sales, this is about strategic thinking in any of those 4 areas, right? So it's not about you're not going to come and do the Master of Marketing and pay a sum of money because you want to end up being a salesperson. You see what I mean? It's not about that. It's not about you being able to take the spin and market it amongst 10 others. That's not what we're teaching you. We're teaching you about strategic decision-making in marketing, advertising, retailing, and sales, whether it's business here, whether it's offshore, whether it's online. It's what's the thinking that goes behind that? What do you need to be aware of to be able to make sure that the product that you are going to be marketing hits the mark? How your employees are going to achieve that for you. All right, so it's not about you becoming a better salesperson, or you becoming a better advertising creative person. It's not about that.
Thanks, Farnaz.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pick up the next question, and I think, Mary, this might be more in your lines. What kind of career can I expect with a master's degree in business intelligence and data and analytics?
Right. So definitely data analyst and business information systems analyst. It all comes under the area of IT and ICT, which is the main stream for us here in New Zealand. Data analysts are in the long-term skill shortage list for New Zealand. So if you do have a computer science background or statistics background with combination of mathematics and IT, you will be able to get into these degrees. And definitely there are good opportunities. The salaries are very, very good for people who are graduating from these kind of programs. And AUT has a brilliant program. In fact, I have one of my students who's doing the Masters of Data Analytics at AUT, and he's given me amazing feedback about this program. So yes, there are good opportunities, and the program is also very well set up within AUT. So I think you should consider that option if you are, yeah.
Thanks, Mary. I'll pick up the next question, which is those who have long work experiences, so more than 10 years, and has very good academic achievements, but don't have IELTS or TOEFL, then are they eligible to get into there? I'm assuming that's get into one of the business courses at AUT. Farnaz, could you take that?
Yeah, sure. So our requirements for our programs, as shown on the slide, there are two requirements: academic plus English language, and there's no flexibility in the English language component part. So you might have fabulous work experience, you might have worked for international companies, great. You might have had fabulous academics, could have been 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but we require you to do an English test. And it's not because, we're doing it for fun. It's not that. I always say to students, students are fabulous. You may be employed for 20 years, great communicating skills, fabulous when you talk, answer questions. But when it comes to writing, it's not very good. And these are master's programs, a lot of writing. These are business master programs. We do require students to do a lot of writing. Yes, you could use Google to come up with the words and get your spelling all correct, but we do require you to be able to write, because you've got to be able to write plans, you've got to be able to write communication reviews, etc. So it's about your writing. And I always say to students that, if you are investing a large sum of money to undertake studies, then what's a few more dollars in undertaking an English test? Because it's being true to yourself. So it's knowing, hey, I know that my weakness is writing, and it's proven in this particular test, so I need to improve on that. Right? So it's about you understanding where your flaws are. You could be perfect in all 4 areas that we require you to be good at, and that's great. And it's just a test that proves that you're doing well. And for us, it gives us the confidence that the student that we are taking academically is great, but we are also assured that you will not struggle when you get here, and you're able to be with your peers and your colleagues and able to do fabulous work, because we do a lot of group work as well. So you don't want to let your group down by not performing to the level we expect you to perform at. So there's no shortcuts to that.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. What are the career prospects after Masters of Marketing?
Master Marketing. There's different sort of roles you can go to, and I don't know what you would be familiar with, but if you look in the New Zealand website under SEEK or the New Zealand Herald, etc., for roles, there's all sorts. You could be a marketing analyst. We've got people who are marketing coordinators. We've got people executive assistants. When I graduated with my degree in international business, my first role was a marketing coordinator role at the university that I graduated with. But it wasn't about doing advertising, reading, and sales. It was in international education. So it's your degree, the knowledge and the skills that we give you with the applied project. You can take that into any particular industry or business to be able to do a role. So your marketing, advertising, reading, and sales could be that you are required to say assist one of the malls that we've got here in administrative, in terms of understanding how the mall front should look like, looking at market research in the mall to see when are the peaks for traffic's happening, what do we need to do to make it a lot more attractive. So it's about being able to identify, when you're looking at these positions that are advertised, to say, hey, I did my degree in this is what they're looking for. Do you think I've got the transferable skills and the knowledge to be able to do that role? And I think a lot of students are able to understand that as you go through. I think people, gone are the days 20 years ago, right? When you graduated and you looked in the paper or wherever for a role that said accountant, or a role that said marketing manager. That's long gone. That doesn't happen anymore. I think you've got to look at the specifics and say, this is what I studied. These were the range of papers that I undertook in this marketing degree or this finance degree or this management degree. This is what the job is looking for. am I able to do these if I cross over? And you'll see, you'll surprise yourself by saying, yeah, actually I can. I can. So titles are no longer the norm.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Arun, you wanted to say something?
No, I just said accept what Farzana.
There's a second part to that question. So does the government of New Zealand provide 3 years of work visa after both master's and diploma degree? So I guess
Postgraduate diploma?
no, it's just it says a diploma.
Yeah, so if you're doing a PG Dip or master, I think you guys can answer, but yes, you get a 3-year permit regardless which qualification you're doing. Yeah.
Teacher Mary, you might want to elaborate a bit more on that. Okay, Mary has decided to go offline. All right, so as long as you're doing a master's or a postgraduate diploma in New Zealand, you are entitled to getting a 3 years post-study work visa. The only difference between a master's and a postgraduate diploma, from an immigration perspective, and I can talk about it because I'm a licensed immigration advisor, is that if you are planning to come into New Zealand as a mature student and you're planning to come with your family and your spouse. So if you're doing a master's, then the spouse would become eligible to also apply for a partner work visa. And by virtue of the fact that the partner gets a work visa, that if you have school-going children, they will be considered as domestic students in New Zealand. And so you can get the advantage of, having international level education for your kids while you're studying. So that's the thing. And for a postgraduate diploma, you don't have that option where the spouse can get the work visa. Having said that, if you are married and you still want your spouse to accompany you, he or she could potentially still apply for a visitor visa for the duration of your course. And once your course is over and you shift into the post-study work visa, you can then apply for a work visa for your spouse. So that's the way it works.
Thank you. Moving on to our next questions. Considering the current border closure, do we have INZ approval in place for AUT's business for online plus campus course? I'm assuming it refers to NZQA approval for delivering the courses online rather than INZ. But yeah, Farnaz, could you?
Yeah, sure. The universities and institutions do not need to have separate accrediting bodies to give approval whether we do online or not. So the programs are on offer. It's because the situation requires us to be able to do online delivery for students, because it's not only for students who are offshore in their home country, it's also a requirement onshore, because when we went into total lockdown, we had to be able to deliver to our students who are enrolled here in New Zealand students as well as international students, their program. So we had to continue, so we had to do it online. So there's no specific requirements or extra stamps of approval that we need from government body. So we do online delivery of courses within those programs that I've just mentioned to you for students from their home country.
Cool. I think this next question may be for you, Arun. Says, is Master of Business professional needed to start a business in New Zealand?
Good question. I think, as a fellow entrepreneur who's kind of been treading the entrepreneurial journey for the last almost 20 years now, there's no set requirement that you need to have a master's of business to be able to become an entrepreneur. But in hindsight, if I look back upon my own career and my own journey as an entrepreneur, if you are planning to come and set up and establish a business in New Zealand, first and foremost, you need to be able to have a good measure of the environment here in New Zealand. And so for you to be able to get that measure of the environment in New Zealand, I strongly recommend that you come in as an international student, study your course, especially at the PG or master's level, get your 3 years post-study work visa. While you're studying, you're also getting a measure of your environment. Plus, you're also acquiring a lot of good knowledge. Today, again, in hindsight, when I look back upon my own career, there are probably a few things I would have done differently as a business person if I had formal training at a master's level in business administration. I didn't. So I was more a trial and error kind of an entrepreneur. So, but if your desire is to come and set up a business in New Zealand, come as an international student, get yourself that not only the local qualification, but the actual understanding of how to do professional business. Plus, your time in New Zealand as a student, you're not under pressure to start a business. So you can kind of get acclimatized to the whole environment, get used to the place, create your contact network. And the moment you get your post-study work visa, you could then launch your business. So that would be my very sincere advice to anybody. Yeah.
Thanks, Arun. The next is, I think, something that is very close to most Indian students' heart. So this one is there any funding available to cover tuition fees at AUT? Farnaz.
Looking at scholarships, the simple answer is at the moment no. The faculty did have scholarships on offer for students prior to COVID-19 happening this year, and we've had to sort of relocate our finances elsewhere. The university did have international scholarships on offer for the July intake, so that was marketed quite well. I understand that they will perhaps advertise that again towards the end of the year for intakes next year, so I recommend you keep an eye on the AUT website for that news, and also keep in touch with AJV, because as a respected partner for the university, they will be given information before it hits the website. Same with the faculty. I am negotiating a set of scholarships for students for the intake, which for the professional masters, that is, for V1 2020, as well as the intake that's coming up soon, which is the 26th of October 2020. So I'm negotiating some scholarships for students for these intakes. So once that comes through, we will be putting that through to AJV. So they will be informing you. It's a separate process to the university scholarship if we do it for the faculty. We won't be requiring you to complete separate forms, etc. All you need to ensure is that you've already applied and you've already got an offer of place, unconditional, for one of those 5 masters that I mentioned. Students are selected on GPA based, as you know, and you've heard me say it over and over again, that entry into those masters, apart from your English language, is on a first class pass. So we look at who's got the higher percentage in the first class pass to be eligible for a study award. So it's a selection that we make in-house, and we will be informing students about that. Unfortunately, those scholarships for the October one, which is coming up soon, that you would have to undertake the program online. So you've got to make a commitment that that's what you're intending to do, because you can't travel to New Zealand at the present moment.
Okay, moving to the next one. Are students eligible for any internship whilst pursuing business programs? If so, any particular companies that AUT has a tie-up with?
Okay. We don't do internships at the university in terms of the program level. If you recall, in those professional masters, I mentioned that the last paper that you've got to do is called an applied project. So it's either applied finance project or business management project, and that's with industry and businesses here in Auckland. So we've got a very large pool of businesses and industry that we associate with. It's over 1,000, and it's in a particular database because we use the same companies for our undergraduate students who take the Bachelors of Business, because they've got to do 6 months of work experience. That is a requirement as part of the degree. Now, we tend to stay away from the word internship, which is part of the degree, because internship has the connotation of being paid. Now, you cannot be paid for a paper that you've got to pass the degree. All right, otherwise it's known as bribery. So it's a bit separate. Internship is GPA based, and it's usually given to students when they've completed a degree, and it's about being recognized as a top graduate going to a particular industry. So when you're within our program and you're doing an applied project, or you're doing what we call cooperative work experience, then that's unpaid, and that's part of the degree. You've got to pass that experience to be able to graduate. So it's a bit different. But for the applied project for each of those masters, it's industry-based, and you'd be doing that out in Auckland. And if you can't find a business, we tend to help students do that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So this will be the last question I take for the session, because we're almost coming to the 12 o'clock end of this. So is the applied project included in postgraduate diploma degree?
No. No. And that's one of the differences when you're undertaking the PG diploma and the master's, adding to what Arun had said in terms of the visa and the family situation, etc. That's also the biggest difference between the PG dip and the master's. All right. In the postgraduate diploma that you come to do, your knowledge and your experience is only through theory. You get to hear from guest lecturers, etc., but you don't get to apply that because that's only offered at the master's level. So I think as future students, that's something that you've got to decide on quite early. You know, if you can afford it, if you've got the grades that we require, and it's a short journey of 12 months only, then undertake that master's to be able to get that experience. Because if you have a degree in engineering and you had your work experience in management, coming in and just doing a PG diploma on its own becomes difficult for you to then jump out into the workforce to be able to say or sell yourself to say that I've got some applied business project to be able to understand how your business operates in New Zealand. All right, so it's advisable that if you can, you do complete the master's because it gives you that extra edge where you do that applied project, and that applied project is not something that you do only for a week. It's 10 weeks. All right, so that's a thorough part, and that one project is equivalent to 3 papers. So it's quite thorough, it's quite important to do. And that's where you are applying all the knowledge and skills that we've taught you in the 11 months you've been with us. It's taking what you have learned back home, perhaps, if you had some work experience, or what you learned in your degree, and it's applying that to this particular applied project. And I tend to say to students as well that, you know, and I mentioned it here, that if you've got a good base degree, which you would have because that's the eligibility into the master's, you know, if it's technical area, don't disregard that degree when you come here. When you've completed a qualification with us, with me, in business management or applied finance, don't disregard the practical degree that you had done because it should complement the degree that you're undertaking with us.
Yeah.
So when you're out there looking for work, you're looking at complementing to say that I'm going to go into a technical company because I've got the management side or the finance side or whatever it is. All right. Sometimes we have students that tend to come and forget the extreme hard work they did 4 years in an engineering or computer science degree and think that that 1 year qualification of business is enough for them to jump into employment. And sometimes it's a struggle. So I always say, don't forget your base degree. You should use it as a complementary degree together with our degree with your degree. All right. So it should go hand in hand. Unless you had a terrible experience and you totally dislike it, then that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Farnaz. Just as concluding remarks, Arun or Mary, would you just like to add something from the immigration perspective about studying business in New Zealand and the sort of prospects for our offshore students there?
Yeah, I could take that. Well, I think there is this perception that, you know, only if you come into New Zealand and do a course that is in the long-term skills shortage list, that somehow it's a magical pathway to some great things in the future. I would like to, say that's not true. We have had a lot of brilliant young people who have come into New Zealand and have studied business at AUT and at many other reputed institutions as well. There is a good scope for business studies in New Zealand, and when you combine it with that lovely post study work visa that the government has introduced, it can actually become a very awesome pathway for you to look at a career internationally here in New Zealand, or you could seek to go to other markets. But do not discount the importance of getting a business degree from an institution like AUT. At the start of this presentation, Farnaz shared some of the highlights and the milestones and the achievements of the AUT School of Business. So, and as a person who's been advising people for almost 20 years to come and study in New Zealand and seek their futures and their careers, not once have we had any adverse remark from any student who has studied at AUT University. So I personally strongly endorse the institution. And I think some of our students have also had very, very good outcomes going to AUT University. So I strongly encourage all of you to consider business studies at AUT.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you very much. In fact, thank you, Farnaz, and thank you, Arun and Mary, for giving your time and sharing the very useful information with our audience. We all know New Zealand is a beautiful country, but that is obviously not all. It is also one of the safest and most peaceful countries in the world, and also has an excellent education system, which is internationally accredited. And while the borders are still closed, let that not dissuade your study plans. So use this time to plan your study and career pathway in New Zealand. Um, don't hesitate to contact us. We are present in India, Malaysia, Oman, and New Zealand to answer any queries that you may have. AJV Global is known to be providers of friendly and very, very frank advice. So don't hesitate and reach out to our team today, and we'll help you with your journey to New Zealand. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for making the time to attend this webinar. Until next time, take care.